Good evening, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Um, Old people, new people, wherever you are, people, watching the replay, watching live people, whoever you are, welcome to Tuesday Night Tea with your host, me, Juana. Um, I am a licensed professional counselor by trade. However, anything that you see on any of these podcasts or anywhere, please don't use them as strict professional advice. If you're having any issues or anything like that, please seek professional help. If you need connection with someone that can provide you some professional help, let me know. You can reach out to me and I can connect you to someone in your area. And also, I would like to just put out my little, every week I have to tell y'all, but I am using StreamYard to stream so I can stream on multiple platforms. So please allow StreamYard to access your name so that I can see who you are. And I love to connect with people. So I like interaction. So please let StreamYard see who you are. And y'all, it's been it's hot in here. I've been running around. I just came home from work. So yeah, oh yeah, work. I spent the whole full day in my office. So that was incredible. So from 9 to 5:30, I was there all day at my business. So that's the God is good and I'm just thankful for that. But tonight, y'all, we are going to talk about emotional intelligence. I wanted to say just get out your feelings, but actually, having feelings is important. So, we're going to talk about that today. Um, oh, sorry. I was trying to see if I can see anybody. I see there's 5 people watching, but I can't see who you are. So please, hello, whoever you are, but give us access to see who you are. Um Anyway, so I'm going to define, I took some notes so I can try to stay on track. I don't want to keep y'all all night, but I actually am going to cover what emotional intelligence is and give you some tips on emotional, like how you can maintain good emotional wellness. Okay. So first of all, I found this definition. I think it was very, very well mind and some others. So, emotional intelligence is the ability to perceive, interpret, demonstrate, control, and use emotions to communicate with and relate to others effectively and constructively. This ability to express and control emotions is essential, but so is the ability to understand, interpret, and respond to the emotions of others. Now, I know that many of us we might feel like I got some emotional intelligence, but in real life, I don't know if we really do. Some of us, and I'm just saying that because some of us we only really think of like we're angry, mad, happy, sad kind of stuff, right? But there's way more, like being able to truly define, like, is anger really anger? It might not necessarily be anger. It might be that you're disappointed, that you're hurt, that you're actually having physical pain, and it manifests as anger, right? But just because it manifests as anger, or it comes out what you perceive, so there's that word perceive, it it may seem like anger, but it's really like disappointment, hurt, pain, or whatever that underlying feeling is. My coach this morning, he was talking about Coach Brian. Y'all know Coach Brian, he be on here. Um, he was talking about rejection, and rejection is hurtful. It's an emotion, right? The feeling of rejection, it's an emotion. But being able to control these emotions and have awareness about your emotions, um, including like management of the emotions and being able to communicate your emotions effectively, is all about emotional intelligence. So I'm going to give you some quick signs of emotional intelligence. So see if you have them. It's a good list, about 10 of them maybe. So just check off, see how many you have. So here's some key signs of and examples of emotional intelligence. An ability to identify and describe what people are feeling. So in my profession, I have to be able to identify and describe correctly what people are feeling throughout the day, right? So if I'm meeting with somebody, I have to be able to discern and have an objective viewpoint of what's going on with them. Like, okay, that, you must be feeling sad about this or something like that. And it also is based on some nonverbal cues as well, which I can talk, we'll talk about that in a few minutes too. It's an awareness of personal strengths and limitations. So knowing who you are, being aware of your own stuff, like being aware of your personal strengths, the things that you know that this is too much. I can't no more. I can't do it right now. And what your limitations are. Okay. So your strengths and your limitations. Some more signs are self-confidence and self-acceptance. So being confident in yourself and your abilities, like those strengths that you have, and accepting that for yourself, accepting what that means, what that looks like for you and who you are. It's also the ability to let go of mistakes. Hmm, mistakes. The ability to let go of mistakes. That's kind of hard, right? Because sometimes we just hold on to it and we beat ourselves up. But having good emotional intelligence is being able to accept and let go of those mistakes, okay? It's also the ability to accept and embrace change. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm not a big person on change. Like, it's hard for me. It's hard. It's challenging. But I think that is the case for some people, right? It's normal to have difficulty with change. But to be able to accept it and embrace it, not be stuck in like, I can't, no, this is not going to happen, and just be hell bent against it is not good emotional intelligence. But being able to adapt, embrace it, and accept it gives you that sign of emotional intelligence. Another one is a strong sense of curiosity, particularly about other people. So, also in my practice on day to day, I tell people to be curious about themselves, but that's also to be curious about other people too. Okay. So I tell them, yes, be curious about yourself and explore that feeling that you might be having, but also be curious about the other people. Okay. And that means like, in my relationship, and baby, I love you, but I'm just saying it's good for us to be curious about each other, um, and understanding the other person in a relationship with us. Maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's just a friend, but being able to be curious about that, like not just trying to define it for them, but being curious about what are their real feelings. Let's see. Feelings of empathy and concern for others. So, empathy, what does that really mean? So, having empathy for someone is not the same as compassion, or sympathy, right? But having empathy, being able to understand and validate that this person is going through something. You may not agree with it, you don't have to have gone through it, but at the same time have empathy for their situation. It's not like yours. You may not have done it that way, but having empathy for them, just knowing that they can be going through this, they can be feeling that way. Okay. And I hope I explained that good enough for you. The next one is showing sensitivity to the feelings of other people. Whew, that's when you're like, you can be open to their feelings, right? You're not sitting there saying, you know what, you need to suck that up and drive on, like stop crying. Or if you're a parent, I don't know how many of us have heard that, stop crying before I give you something to cry for. Have some sensitivity towards that, I'm hurt, that I'm feeling some kind of way, okay? that gives you a strong emotional intelligence. Ooh, this one. Accepting responsibility for mistakes. Own your stuff. Own your stuff. If you did it, own it. That's okay. I mean, we can get past it. Just own it. That's all that's talking about. Own your stuff. And the last one that I have here is the ability to manage emotions in difficult situations. So when stuff hits the ceiling, how do you handle that? How do you deal with it? What's that look like for you? So if you go online, I'm sure you can find um, free assessments. As counselors, we do give, we can, I don't want to say we do, but we can give you different kinds of assessments to check your emotional intelligence, or otherwise known as your EQ, which is your emotional quotient. And really, to be honest, having emotional intelligence is crucial for all parts of your life, okay? So it is commonly defined by certain attributes, and there's four that I'm going to talk about: self-management, self-awareness, social awareness, and relationship management. Some of these don't even need explanation, right? But I'm going to do it because that's me, and I'm going to help y'all tonight because we about to get out these feelings. Um, so, self management is just what we talked about. You're able to control impulsive feelings, behaviors, and manage your emotions in a healthy way. So, that means you got to also take initiative and follow through with your commitments and adapt to changing circumstances. Like, remember, we just talked about all those few signs of emotional intelligence. So, self management also is like um you having the ability to make constructive decisions about your behavior. So because I'm just, baby, you out there, so I love you. If I come home and Demond's like doesn't say I'm like, I'm hungry, and he doesn't know I'm hungry. He doesn't know what kind of day I had, but I just come in and I'm hungry, and then he says, well, I already ate, and I just fly off the handle and just go at him like, "What you mean you already ate?" And I'm just yelling at him. That's not that's not constructive for me. That's not me having good control over my emotions, right? And so I would need to be more thoughtful and um, to be more appropriate in a situation, because I can handle that a whole lot different, right? So I would need to just come in and say, okay, well, I'm hungry, and I really need to eat because I had a busy day. So when he says I already ate, I'm good, then I could say, okay, then I'll just go ahead and get me something. Not get mad at him because it's not his fault. It's not. So that goes back to me owning and taking responsibility for me, right? Because the only things that you have control over is yourself, your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors, right? So everything that relates to you, you have control over. So I want you to think about a time that you became overwhelmed, right? A time that it was just too stressful, that you were just like, this is too much, and you don't know what to do. Are you able to make clear, rational decisions during that time? I'm gonna give you a moment. Think about it. Probably not, huh? Right? So when you become overly stressed, your ability to think clearly and accurately and to assess your emotions, it kind of goes out of the window. It gets a little bit compromised. And the reason being is because, and like in my practice, I concentrate on three different parts of your brain. So this frontal lobe, which called it's where your thinking, your rational thought happens. And then the middle part of your brain, like if I was to go like this, it's kind of like the whole middle part. It's where your limbic system is. And where your limbic system is, that is where emotions are held primarily, right? And then the back part of your brain, y'all, my curls is popping, ain't they? But this back part of your brain is where it's the reptilian brain. And that's the part of your brain where it only knows how to survive, right? That's why your heart can keep beating and you can be brain dead. So it knows how to survive. So when you start thinking about um the stress, So emotions have been triggered inside your limbic system, right? Something has triggered you. This back part of your brain is like survive. So that could be fight, flight, freeze, attach, submit. All these different kind of things happen, right? So you now become overwhelmed. You can't think at all because you're using this part of your brain. And all it knows how to do is what it knows how to do, survive. And just because something causes survival doesn't mean that it's safe. So I could, using my same example, I could come in, talk to Demond. He says he already ate, and I could just start wailing on him like I'm mad. So I start hitting him because I'm hungry, because I'm just trying to survive or something. And I know that may not make sense, but that's what that happens. It just causes me to do something that is not necessarily rational, thought out. So I need you to have some strong emotional intelligence, recognize the how you need to manage your emotions, okay? And something that I tell my clients too is like, because you're angry, do you go and punch, you might go punch a hole in the wall, right? That's aggressive behavior. If you're happy, you just like, man, I just won $1 million. Are you going to go punch a hole in the wall? Probably not. But it's the same thing. It's just an emotion. You don't have to respond in an aggressive way. Okay. So let's see. Oh, and this is something my dad used to tell me. If you don't have control of your emotions, somebody else will. So you have to keep control of yourself at all times. Okay. It's important. Um, and I just don't want you to make some bad decisions because you don't have control over your emotions. So let's see. The second one is self-awareness. Mm. So, self awareness is that you recognize your own emotions and how they affect your thoughts and behavior. You know your strengths and weaknesses and have self confidence. There we go again, talking about that self confidence, right? So, when you manage your stress, which was that first part, we're managing our emotions, the stress, not being overwhelmed, it's just a first step, but then you have to have self-awareness. So you have to know that you are under stress, right? You have to know, again, going back, where your strengths and limitations are, how much you can hold. um I highlighted this. It says the science of attachment indicates that your current emotional experience is likely a reflection of your early life experience. And so when you think about that, I don't know if I can share my screen. Let me see. I want to share my screen because I want y'all to see something. Um let's see. A window. I think I think this is it. If y'all see something that y'all ain't supposed to see, excuse me. Let me see if it's sharing. I don't think it is. I need 2 monitors. Somebody buy me 2 monitors. Um yeah, it's not working. It's not working properly. Oh Lord. I think I clicked the wrong thing. Oh, now my whole window frozen. Are y'all still there? Somebody, I only see my mama. So mama, tell me if you still there. Uh-oh. Why did I do this? It's not letting me do anything. Okay, I can't even see what you're saying, mama. Well, anyway, I think you're saying okay because my whole screen is just frozen now. So, um, I wanted to show you a picture of what I use in my sessions actually to kind of help people. So sometimes when you have like when you grow up and you have a parent that is very harsh and they're very punitive, demanding, there's just like nothing that can happen, that you know there's nothing right that you can do in a sense. Then there's also um a caregiver, a parent, whoever's taking care of you while you're little. They could, oh, okay, finally it stopped. Oh, there is trying to share now. Let's just stop sharing it. Okay. So then there's also a type of parent that is neglectful, right? They are, thank you, Tammy. Tammy done text me. Thank you, girl. Um, they are a parent that is neglectful, right? So they might look like this, exactly, like, I ain't got time, or a parent that has experienced their own trauma. So then they're not able to, like, they're kind of just stuck in their own stuff, and they don't have time for anybody else because they're just I can't life right now. I can't adult, I can't mother, I can't father, because my stuff is so important. So there's that person, right? Then there's what I'm guilty of, actually, is I was a helicopter parent. So that's that parent that is overbearing. Who you going with? When you going? No, you can't spend the night at nobody's house. It's all of that kind of stuff, right? So that's that parent. Then the last parent or guardian is that one that is like, they're like, you don't know what you're walking into. So they might be like, hey baby, I love you so much, to, what are you doing? Why are you in here? Why are you bothering me? And so you just never know what you're going to come into. So what happens is, when you have all these different kinds of parenting styles growing up, right, it creates a situation for you. So how can you tell about emotional anything, right? What kind of relationships are you going to have? So, relationships with friends, family, coworkers, any type of relationship that you engage in is going to be compromised because you didn't learn good emotional intelligence because of how your parents brought you up. And I know I might be stepping on somebody's toes today, but I need you to hear this. And if you still have a child at home that you are raising, understand that how you react, how you act is very important to how they're going to communicate and respond and socialize with others. Okay. And that's from anywhere from intimate relationships to just, whatever relationship that they have. They're not going to know how to navigate that. So I know I just got off track of my notes, but so if you think about this example that I have in here, if your primary caretaker as an infant understood and valued your emotions, it's likely that you have emotions that become valuable assets in adult life. But if your emotional experiences as an infant were confusing, threatening, or painful, it's likely that you've tried to distance yourself from your emotions. And so when you think about that, like, I can tell you honestly, my mama was probably, I don't know what she was like as an infant because I can't remember, but I do know that I believe that she must have been like awesome parent, because as me growing up, that I do remember, she was very attentive to myself and my brother's needs and our feelings, our emotions, and my dad was too. So they were very present in our life and concerned about our emotional well-being. Now, if you encounter, if they had been like, if my dad was, I mean, he was a little, he was a little off because he was in the military, but he, if he was just so harsh all the time and I never heard anything good, or if they were just neglectful, always working, prioritizing everything over myself and my brother, then we may also have issues communicating and relating to other people because we don't know. So we either overly desire a relationship, or we're just like, no, I can't because I got this wall up and I don't really know how to navigate having a relationship with anybody because it's scary, it's confusing. So if you prop your baby up on the couch and just put the bottle in their mouth, that's neglectful. If you holler and yell at your baby all the time, that's harsh, right? So then as they grow up, they're gonna either exemplify that same type of behavior as you did because you're their example, or they're gonna be opposite of it, like too clingy to people or too cold to people. Okay. So I just want you to keep that in mind, that you need to have some awareness about your own feelings, right? So here's some questions. Do you experience feelings that flow, encountering one emotion after another as your experiences change from moment to moment? Are your emotions accompanied by physical sensations that you experience in places like your stomach, your throat, or your chest? Do you experience individual feelings and emotions such as anger, sadness, fear, and joy, each of which is evident in subtle facial expressions? So, like, I should be able to see you smile, and that's like, oh, you have such joy, and people tell you you have a beautiful smile, or I can see the what, or the anger on your face, right? Um, can you experience intense feelings that are strong enough to capture both your attention and that of others? And lastly, do you pay attention to your emotions? Do they factor into your decision making? And so, if any of these experiences are unfamiliar, you may have turned down or turned off your emotions. So that means you're kind of numb, right? You may not, you're not able to recognize those feelings of happiness. And a lot of times, because I work with people that have PTSD, which is post traumatic stress disorder, or trauma, we do have, like, we're only able to experience negative emotions a lot of times, or we may be numbed, right? So that what happens is they appear flat. So what I'm saying is, remember how I said smiling and being able to like show your emotions on your face, they're just kind of the whole time, okay? So it's important for you to reconnect your core emotions and learn to accept them and embrace them and be comfortable with them. And so that's where you need to learn what your strengths are and your limitations, okay? And so um there's a lot of ways to do that, like to help you to become more aware of your feelings. Mindfulness is what a lot of people talk about. I just want you to kind of sit, and you can do it right now. Just sit for a moment. You can close your eyes and feel where your feelings are. And I do an exercise with clients all the time too. It's called a feelings person. So I want to know 5 feelings and where you feel them in your body. So I'm kind of like sitting here now, and I'm closing my eyes, and for whatever reason I feel like a tightness in my chest, right? And I can recognize that as a little bit of anxiety. And that's because I'm kind of concerned, are they really understanding? And it's also kind of making me nervous because I can't see anybody's name like I normally do other than my mama. So I see there's people on, but I don't know who you are, so that kind of gives me that, like, oh, I'm not getting feedback. I'm having some anxiety. But I feel that in my chest. Not everybody feels it in their chest, right? Sometimes you might sit there and you think you feel like a lump in your throat or something. That could be like you feeling sad and wanting to cry, or, so just sit with yourself for a moment, close your eyes, take some deep breaths, and really sit quietly and feel those emotions and see where you're feeling them. Do you feel calm? Do you feel restless? You know, do you feel afraid? You know, do you feel tired? You know, I think I feel a little bit tired, but that's kind of how you can start to develop your emotional awareness. Okay. Let's see. Social awareness is my third attribute. Is that what I was calling them, attributes? Um, Yeah, my third attribute. So, social awareness is you have the empathy, you can understand the emotions, needs, and concerns of other people. You pick up on emotional cues, you feel comfortable socially, and you recognize the power dynamics in a group or organization. So if you've ever heard of people being having like Asperger's, but now it's just all on the spectrum. Sometimes people with Asperger's, well, not sometimes, that's why they have Asperger's. They're unable to feel that there, or not feel it but recognize it. So a lot of people with autism, or people that are on the autism spectrum, that's what happens with them. They're and I don't know if you want to, if you want a review about autism, there was an episode where my cousin Kenya, she was on and she was talking about it from a teacher perspective and a parent perspective, right? So it was autism awareness. And I want to say that might have been in like April. So go back and review that, because that's also, it's some important stuff, because typically what happens when people are on the spectrum, they are either overly or underly. So when you're under, it's kind of you're not able to recognize the emotions, you're not able to identify and accept them in that way, right? But a lot of times they're overly stimulated, so their responses to things, that's why they don't like to be touched, because it's, to them, a simple touch like this could, it's overstimulating. I can't really explain it that way, but it's overstimulating to them. So just knowing, I lost my place. But yeah, just being able to have empathy and recognize and interpret nonverbal cues as well of other people. So sometimes, you could be in a situation and somebody's like, no, right? And you're just like, I'm still going to keep talking. Recognize that. Recognize if the group is laughing, or if they're smiling, if they're bored, falling asleep, things like that. These are all nonverbal kind of cues. Sometimes it could be yawning. I know that sometimes when people take medicine or when they're cold, they yawn a lot, because I do when I'm cold. But know that, because it's like, oh, I'm tired, I'm bored, I ain't listening to you no more. Recognize these nonverbal cues, okay? And also with that, these cues let you know how others are really feeling, what their emotional state is, and how it's changing from moment to moment. So sometimes my son, he told me back, like when I first started doing YouTube videos, when I worked at a different place, right? He was like, Mom, you like, when one of my, I did it with two other therapists. And so he's like, Mom, when you look at these people, you're looking like, what she's like, won't she shut up? And I was like, no, I'm just kind of processing. That's just the way I process. So sometimes I kind of squint my eyes. But if someone doesn't know that, it could look very, it's a nonverbal communication that could send the wrong message. So be aware of that. And so even now I try to be more aware of my nonverbal communication. Okay. And sometimes some other nonverbal communications, I know y'all can't really see me, but your hands crossed, you know, all of that, that stuff is nonverbal communication. And usually when your hands or your arms are crossed, it's kind of like a closed, it's not welcoming, right? Um, a lot of times you'll see people with their hands like this in front of them. That's a little more welcoming than that, right? So just think about your nonverbal communication, and to be mindful of what nonverbal communication is, because sometimes it could just be a tone, the inflection of your voice, how you sound, or how you sound. All of that is part of nonverbal. So be mindful of those things, okay? Um, let's see. The last one I want to talk about is relationship management. Okay. So when you, this last attribute, relationship management, you know how to develop and maintain good relationships, communicate clearly, inspire and influence others, work well in a team, and manage conflict. That's good emotional intelligence, okay? So when you think about that, if you've ever interviewed for a job, they ask you, do you work well with the team or do you like to work by yourself? That's kind of stuff that they need to know. It's them kind of checking your emotional intelligence, okay? Oh look, now everybody's showing up. Hey y'all. um, so then let's see what else I want to tell you about that relationship, because I'm gonna talk about that one a little bit harder. Um, and I know working well with others is a process that begins with emotional awareness and your ability to recognize and understand what other people are experiencing. So you need to be able to have um, empathy, right? You need to be able to understand what other people are feeling so that you can have relationship with other people. So once emotional awareness is in play, you can effectively develop additional social and emotional skills that will make your relationships more effective, fruitful, and fulfilling. So, in order for you to become aware of effectively using your nonverbal communication, right? So, you need to be aware of that. And then some other things that they say on here is use humor and play to relieve stress. Learn to see conflict as an opportunity to grow closer to others. Okay, now I want to talk about something because in relationship, right? Because the Bible does tell us that man should not be, alone, right? So we have to be in relationship with others. So when we're not, we're just sitting. Now I don't put my notes down, so I'm finna go on. The spirit then got me now. So when you have to maintain relationship with other people. You have to in order to survive. We need to have interaction with other people. We need to have human contact. Okay. So in order for me to have good emotional intelligence, good emotional well-being, having a balanced emotional life, right? I have to communicate with other people. What does that look like? Nobody's going to want to communicate with me if I'm doing all the wrong things. I'm just hollering, yelling at you. I'm very standoffish. I'm rude. I'm condescending, all of these things. Now, y'all, this when you don't have good emotional intelligence, you get offended very easily about stuff, right? You worry about what other people are saying and thinking. Um, but really, you need to be aware of your own self, your own stuff. It's not so much about what other people like. You need to have consideration and concern for other people, but you can't take that. How am I trying to say this? You can't take that and own that. Okay. So I can have feelings, but you can't tell me that I can't have my feelings. So if you aren't able to validate my feelings, that's a you problem. That's a you problem. And so I might need to check who I'm surrounding myself with. So if I have a friend group, but if I'm talking to my friends and they're condescending, they put me down, they lying, they're not treating me right, then and I'm feeling bad about it, are these really my friends? Not necessarily, right? So I shouldn't continue to put myself in a situation where I'm going to be constantly hurt and feeling bad. And then now I'm inflicting self pain, right? I'm inflicting pain on myself because yesterday I posted something. You have a choice. I put the 3 C's: choice, chance, and change, right? You have a choice to change that, but you have to take a chance. So you have to, you know, I'm not going to sit there and continue to hurt myself, right? Because that's my limitation. So again, with limitations, there's boundaries. That's what that means. You got to have boundaries with people. And I know y'all have heard this, maybe not from me, but from somebody, that we teach people how to treat us, right? So if I don't have good emotional awareness, then they're going to treat me like SHIT because they can't, right? Because I don't know what my limitations are. I don't know what my strengths are or how I'm feeling to manage it so that they don't know how to treat me. So let me see what you said. Coach said, "Girl, I literally coach EQ with leaders all day." Get out your feelings. Yes. So that's so real, y'all. Like we use that as a term, but it's not so much that you need to get out of your feelings, but you need to get awareness about your feelings. I don't know how better to say that. Get awareness about your feelings because okay, I'm going to tell you like she said we spelling words and stuff. Um, so when earlier today I had a client, right? And we talked about this, and this is an analogy that most therapists probably use. If you haven't heard it, I know lots of people use this analogy. When you're on the plane and oxygen gets low, the little things fall out, right? And you're supposed to put the oxygen mask on who? You, right? So if I don't have, now I'm finna give you this scenario. If I don't have good emotional intelligence and I'm like, my parents didn't have, they didn't treat me right. They didn't raise me right. So I don't have that. I don't understand how to connect with people. So I become a people pleaser and I put everybody's needs above mine, above my own, right? So what happens is I say, well, since Tammy, your name popped up, you said help yourself first. No, because I don't have good emotional intelligence. I'm going to go help Tammy. I'm going to say, here, Tammy, here's. Now I'm dead. Tammy bleeding profusely from her leg and she needs a tourniquet. No, she can't breathe, right? And this is the example that I gave my client. Tammy's not going to be able to breathe either, but I'm going to be dead. So I can't even stop her from bleeding. So now she's going to be dead too. So I ain't really help anybody because I'm not aware of my own stuff, what I got going on, my strengths and my limitations, right? So what I should do is put the mask on myself. I can go over there, even if Tammy passes out for the time. I can tie up her little tourniquet, stop her bleeding, patch her up, do whatever I can. I could give her CPR and she could start back breathing. Even if it gets to the point of I hold my breath for a little while, put it on Tammy. I can do that. But if you don't have good emotional intelligence, you're not going to understand all of that. I have empathy for you, Tammy. Like, yeah, it's over there, you bleeding, it's hard, right? But I need to be able to recognize my stuff. I need to have it for you, but I also need to own my stuff and recognize my stuff. Or if I don't have good emotional intelligence, I'm like, I don't care if Tammy over there bleeding anyway. She done did something to me anyhow, right? I don't like her. So I hope something happened. That's not okay. That's not okay. And we can talk about forgiveness another day. But that's just, I need y'all to have some good emotional intelligence. I hope this was been helpful because I'm looking at my time. I hope it's been helpful because it's also important for you to have good emotional wellness. Just like it's good for you to have mental, physical, and spiritual wellness. You that falls in line with your emotional wellness falls in line with your mental wellness, right? If you're not emotionally okay, everybody around you suffers. Everything you do suffers. So I'm talking about your family, your friends, all of that. If you're not okay, they're not okay. But if you're okay, they're okay. But I also want you to be wise enough to understand that they might, if they're not okay, that you need to recognize that and you don't need to put your foot on their neck, right? And I know that's probably not a good term nowadays, but you don't need to add to their stuff and then overwhelm them more. So you need to be aware of yourself and others. Okay. So I just hope that was helpful. Um, if y'all have any questions, if you need an assessment, coach obviously got them somewhere because he just coached them EQ all day, emotional quotients. So, if you need one, you can Google it. If you need a real one, I can give you one. But also check out, go to your therapist. If some of the stuff that I talked about is hitting home and you're not really able to recognize it, or you're doing too much. You know, you busting out what that song by Jasmine Sullivan. You busting out people. Yeah, that's a song where she be talking about get out your feelings. You know, she out there busting windows out the cars and all that kind of stuff. You know, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that because it doesn't do anything but hurt you. Because guess what? I done bust your windows out your cars, keyed up your car, and now my blood pressure high, and I'm going to jail. Like, so that's what can happen if you don't have good emotional intelligence. You see how it's just one little thing, it gets taken all the way out of context. So thank you, Miss Kim, for coming on, and I'm glad that this was helpful for you. But y'all, I want you to have some good emotional intelligence. And like I say, well, I don't have a guest, but I want to ask somebody out there, somebody, put in the chat what you do to be intentional each day. And let me see if anybody put something. But something that I'm starting to do now is I am waking up. I know that my first thing I do is I thank God and I pray, but something else I'm doing to be intentional each day is I'm actually starting to say some affirmations, right? I'm declaring some things over my life. So nobody want to say nothing, but okay. So I said something. So yeah, just, you know, that's something that I'm being more intentional about is saying some affirmations daily. So like always, I want to tell you guys, I am here, is now, and I am alive, and I will see y'all next week. Y'all have a great night.